Hey, before we start this video, I want to give a quick shout out to the inspiration for it, and it's Jim Rugg and Ed Pisker, their YouTube channel. I've been watching it for like 2 weeks in a row, and just an amazing format. They flip through a bunch of old comics, and they were super inspiring. Got me excited about reading some comics. And anyway, so I thought I'd shoot a couple of videos inspired by them. But since I'm kind of borrowing their format, I want to link to them. So make sure you hit the link and go check out their website. They do this way better than I do. That's it. Enjoy the video. All right, welcome to my first commentary video. I'm going to try to shoot a series of these and sort of discuss the process of making comics and just pick sort of random books that I've written or something I'm working on, and we'll go over them. So first up is going to be ENIAC. I'm going to go through the first 3 issues, and then there'll be minor spoilers, I guess, as I flip through these. But I'll try not to spoil everything. But again, if you're worried about any kind of story spoiler, maybe don't go past issue 1. But I'm only going to do the first 3. And then I'll talk about script, process, everything kind of involved with it as we go along. All right, so ENIAC, issue 1. Great spot gloss on this. And then in the back, the guys asked me to do a spot illustration for the back cover. And so this is sort of a series of these that have been on all of the covers of Bad Idea books on the back, sort of incorporating the name, company name and everything. So they asked me to do one. I was like, oh, I got an idea. And so I just did this for Bad Idea in the Blood. And I think I drew this. I remember drawing this on my iPad while we were watching some TV show. I can't remember what we were watching, but I did the whole thing on my iPad. Anyway, 100% digital. All right, ENIAC. Great cover by Luis LaRosa. It's just amazing. I don't know how he does it. If you look at his original pages, it's like a lot of marker, gray tones, and man, it's just amazing stuff. All right, so the beginning of ENIAC. So this opening scene where it shows our duo, Falk and Fletcher, sort of going on a mission in Russia, going on to take out some guy, and then the title credits. This opening scene was something that I wrote last. I wrote the entire issue, and the original opening started here in the desert. And I remember writing the entire issue, and then when I was done, I remember calling Warren, the editor, and just saying, Warren, I think it needs something. We need to open with some action or something to sort of just plunge us right into it. I felt like I needed like a 5-page action sequence. And if I remember correctly, he's like, oh no, it works. And then, and I think after one round of lettering or something, we were reading it, and he's like, he agreed with me. He's like, yeah, we need this. I was like, I knew it. I told you. So I went back and I had an idea for it, and ended up writing this sequence. Sort of showing Falk and Fletcher working together, kind of the missions they work on, how they do it, and it was just kind of a fun way to start with an action scene. And then I love doing the action and then like a cold open and then title. I think that this is cool. I like it. All right, so then this is the original opening. So if you look at the script for issue 1, I'll throw some of the script up here as we talk too. This is the original page 1. And we're meeting with the Secretary of Defense. And I thought it would be fun to just start out with everybody's naked. You don't know why. We're in the desert naked. And he's describing, what's going on and why they have to be there because for security reasons. Then we get a bunch of backstory at the beginning of ENIAC and sort of the birth of artificial intelligence. And if you're, I get into discussions with my dad all the time about artificial intelligence, and he's telling me that there's no such thing, that artificial intelligence is only as smart as the person that programmed it. And it can't have true intelligence. It only has what you put into it. So that's my dad's point of view, and we discussed that. And I think that he's right to a degree, and that's where we are here, where they have these secretaries in the 40s programming everything into ENIAC, and he really isn't anything more than what's being put into him. But I think there's a point where he becomes more than the sum of his parts, or he puts the sum of those parts together into something more interesting. Anyway, that's the story. So if artificial intelligence isn't if it's just programming, then there's not going to be much of a story. So maybe I took a little bit of license, maybe not. Anyway, some interesting text in here. This is relevant to the story if you read it. I always hate in comics when there's something like a book or people have a newspaper open and you can tell it's just like fake words or Greeking, and nothing to read there. So I purposely picked a selection of something here that you could read, because it's one of my pet peeves in comics. Anyway, Doug did such a great job of the art here. We're flashing back and forth from past to present, getting backstory, and then the big twist here with dropping the second bomb during World War II. ENIAC being responsible, and that sort of kicks off everything we're going to get after this. So a lot of backstory with the creation of ENIAC, and then this is something I wanted to do. Is we had discussed having sort of like an action team, like sort of a Sergeant Rock kind of team of losers or Dirty Dozen type of guys, which I really wanted to do a book like that. I was like, well, let's put them in here, and then hopefully one day we'll get to do a book that's all about these guys. And what did we end up calling them? The Cutthroats. I think we went through a couple different names. If you look at the script, that's probably something different. I think we called them Red Mist at some point, and then I think we've realized that there's something else called Red Mist, so we had to change the name. But I like the Cutthroats, kind of like pirate seeming. Here we are, and then these are all based on friends of mine, and they're named after friends of mine too. Bunch of guys I play tennis with. So, except for the main guy, I think in the script, I'll have to look at the script, but I sort of described everybody. But then I told Doug to go ahead and make this guy look like himself if he wanted to, because I thought he'd be great Sergeant Powers. Anyway, Doug would be a great Sergeant Powers, and kind of looks like him. Anyway, it's a lot of cool action here. Then we come back to the desert. As I get more backstory, really this whole first issue, I was really hesitant. I feel like it's a lot of exposition, and we're really just telling the history of ENIAC, all in flashbacks and backstory. And so I was a little worried about it being exciting enough or dramatic enough. But in hindsight, I think it works. We cut back here to the end, the big payoff, as we realize what they're dealing with. ENIAC is this all-powerful sort of artificial intelligence. And then this page, I can't tell you how long we've worked on these 2 pages. And if you look at the script, you can see what we were trying to do. But to make this work, the difficulty level was so high because there's a lot of people involved. It's lettering, it's coloring, it's art, it's story all put together. And to make this work correctly, all those things had to work just right. So it was a difficult thing to do. So we're following our characters as they talk, and then they're getting their mission. They're like, find ENIAC and kill him. But then we're seeing that the Secretary of Defense is talking, But this is the reflection that's in this sort of solar panel. So we see them here, and then we pull back from the solar panel, and then we pull up to the sky, and then we have a view from ENIAC's point of view in the sky looking down. So the idea is that kind of like HAL in 2001 lip reading, but ENIAC's doing it from space. So he's got a satellite up there, and he's using the reflection in these solar panels to actually see them talking, so he knows exactly what's going to happen. But to pull the sequence off, gosh, I think it was just a lot of work to get it right. We had to get the color right. We had to get the angle on the solar panels correct, and whatever. It was not easy, but I think it ended up working all right. So then we cut to the end, and we get a little flash of Fletcher as a kid here, and then these are going to continue throughout the series. These are probably the most important panels because we're getting Fletcher's backstory, which will pay off in issue 4, and I won't spoil it too much, but it was really critical to get this in here now, and then we sort of thread that through every issue. But that's our first sort of glimpse of her as a kid to sort of tee up the ending. ENIAC takes over the plane, it crashes, they barely survive, and we get a little character development here with them. So they have a little conversation here where we realize, oh, they were together and maybe they're not now, but it's amicable, they're still friends. And so they're in the woods. ENIAC blew their plane up, and then again we get that final shot of ENIAC just tracking them, knowing what they're going to do, knowing where they're at, sort of setting up some paranoia for the future. And that's it. That's the end of issue 1. And then let's see the backup story. This is I wrote for the great David Lapham. Stray Bullets, one of my favorite books of all time. Can't believe I get to work with David. And it's so much fun writing these for him. And so this is one in a series that we're doing, Hero Trade, which is really, they're like superhero stories, but without the superheroes being in it. It's sort of everything around the superheroes and normal people sort of interacting in this world with superheroes, but it's not about the superheroes. And when I started writing these, I started realizing that this isn't about, they're kind of crime stories with superhero elements, but also sort of commentary on the comic book industry. And I told Warren, I was like, when these are all done, I want to write an essay that sort of explains like the subtext in each of these stories, which has a little bit of a different view on a different part of the comic industry. So you can read this story in 2 different ways. Anyway, I won't get into that now, but great art. I love David integrating the titles into the art. Just amazing. I love it. Sort of a Will Eisner vibe to that. It's one of my favorite things. Again, we start out with a guy who's got a case. He's trying to sell it. The case gets stolen. This guy runs away. And then they're trying to find the guy who stole the case. He's down here hiding. So starts out as a pretty basic crime story. Then we cut to later. He's at the motel. I just bought this page from David. I just love the signage and him in the hotel shaking his case, getting frustrated, trying to get into it. It's day 1. It goes down to day 6. Great passage of time. Now, there's going to be spoilers for this here, so if you haven't read this, you might want to skip to the ending, or I'll put a timestamp in here for you. But again, he gets frustrated, can't open the case. Then we cut to this guy. We don't know where this is. And then we realize that's little miniature people living in this case, trying to break out. He's in the trash. The end. Anyway, I told Warren when I was done with this story that it's a metaphor for the comic industry, people trying to break into it, and then these people inside trying to get out. That may or may not be what this story is about. All right, here we go. ENIAC issue 2. Let's do this. All right, issue 2. Another great cover by Lewis. I love the distorted features and like this gun and this sort of fisheye lens point of view of ENIAC. Just amazing, super great and weird. I love it. And then sort of these little call outs for our characters. Let's see, back cover. Who did the back cover? I'm not sure who did this. I'll have to look it up. Love it. Again, really cool spot gloss on here too. You can kind of, I don't know if you can see that, but nice thick covers. All right, issue 2. Again, this is like basically like a prison break. I wanted to do like a, see our guys in action here. They're going in to sort of, get this Russian guy who's got like a virus that will kill ENIAC. So they're going in here. We got a bunch of great action. Trying to give Doug something fun to draw here, and he definitely has fun. Doug's so good at like the action and staging the action, and then the camera angles. Just love his stuff. And then the panel layouts, like just kind of crazy, great, and never complains. I turn in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 panels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 8-panel pages in a row with a lot of stuff happening. And Doug just knocks it out of the park. He does so much in the small spaces with close-ups and pulling back and telling the story. And it's great. Like, this is the kind of comic pages I like. Lots of panels, lots of like things happening on the page, you know, and it's a few of them in a row. Like this whole sequence, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 panels per page just to start it out. So pretty dense opening scene with 8 panel pages, 8 panel page, 8 panel page, you know. And I feel a little guilty writing this, but Doug does such a good job at it and never complained. But again, I'm just kind of trying to write the comic I would like to read, and the kind of comics I like to read have a lot of like panel to panel action and smaller panels, larger panel count per page. And again, so we're getting backstory, where it's a lot of backstory with in Russia, and sort of like where ENIAC went after World War II and what he did sort of during the Cold War era, if I remember correctly. And then it's interesting, we get to see ENIAC, how he's sort of taken over this town, and then these sort of forgotten women that are working with him. And he's not really manipulating them. These women are kind of whatever. They're a little bit angry. They feel left out and forgotten, so they're protective of ENIAC. Anyways, a lot of interesting stuff going on with this part of the story. And they go here, and then we see ENIAC, and this is great. This is one of those things that in the original script, I don't think I had really described. ENIAC was like wires and boxes and tech stuff, and I didn't really have a really good visual idea. And then Doug came up with this, and it's just amazing. It looks, these tendrils working like arms and everything, and I think we expanded this sequence, because when the first time it was a lot of dense pages. It's like 8 panels, 8 panels, 8 panels, and then it just felt like we needed to open it up a little bit. And then we get the title page here. And again, this is part of the process. Like, I'm writing this thing and I'm getting all the plot in there and the character. And the beauty of working with bad ideas, I can turn in a script, and then it's like, oh, you know what? It would be better if we had an extra page here. What if we had an extra splash page here, or a bigger page, and open it up? And then we can add it, you know? There's creatively working with bad ideas. It's been almost like doing my own self-published stuff, or working for myself, where there's no really constraints on anything. It's like, what makes the story better? You know, let's do that thing. And that was a sequence where we benefited from that. Again, trying to open it up here. As a writer, I'm aware that I've done like 3, 4, 5, 8 panel pages for Doug, and then for the reader too. Like, you kind of need a break. So I'm trying to open it up a little bit as we go along. Little backstory here. We find out what happened to the creator of ENIAC. Poor guy. And again, this changed a couple times too. I had an idea and then had a different idea, and then so we sort of tweaked this a little bit. So if you look at the script, this is going to be slightly different, and I think I added this later. Some of these script pages I just typed up as their own documents to sort of insert into what was already there. But it's sort of the luxury I've had with this book and with most of my creator-owned stuff as well. Like, we can do all the art and get it lettered, and then when you're reading it, then sometimes you can see like, oh, we need a page here, let's add this here. You don't really notice it until you see it all together, you know? Like when you're reading a script, you can visualize it, but then until you actually see it, sometimes you don't see some of the holes or some of the things that need fixing until it's kind of done. And sometimes you drive letter is crazy, but it's for a good cause. All right, then big action here, helicopter shooting, some blowing stuff up, giving Doug a little bit more room and panels to do something interesting, fun with. And then flashback. So we're cutting back to Fletcher and her sort of backstory with her mother, and then her relationship with technology is sort of put in here. I got to write some song lyrics. But I don't know how to write music, but I could write the lyrics. And then it's sort of her near-death experience as she was drowning. She was remembering that, and then she comes back to life. Then the Russian guy that they capture, he ends up dying, but not before he gives them the thing to kill ENIAC with, the virus. And then this is kind of a twist. It's an interesting thing. This cord rope memory is a real thing that they used in some of the early rockets, that they would tie these little knots into basically string, and that would be like a way to code the computer. So it's like a physical code rather than like something digital. It's kind of an analog technology, but I thought that would be a cool idea to have a virus that's sort of woven into this fabric. Something that's sort of a twist on like a conventional sort of like something on a USB flash drive that you plug in. All right, so that's the end of that. And then we get this sort of paranoid shot to end it with ENIAC still watching him. The idea here is that no matter what they do, ENIAC's watching and he knows they're not going to be able to surprise him. And so that's sort of the conundrum with their mission, is like, how do you get at a thing that can see you all the time and knows what you're going to do next? All right, then we get another backup story. Me and David Lapham doing it again with Hero Trade. It's this guy digging himself out of a shallow grave, and then sort of sees him, he's buried with some other people, his kids. Kind of dark. I'm kind of glad it's in black and white. I love David's art in black and white. It's so good. Anyway, he walks back, wakes up in the hospital, and then he goes home. We see there's like some kind of big fight in his home. We see these creepy guys in the car. This totally reminds me of something out of like Dan Clowes or Eight Ball, like a Velvet Glove, like just creepy guys sort of watching from a distance. I love that. I love the feeling of that panel. And I love that they're sort of half in shadow. We know it's the detectives from earlier, but I just love how creepy that is. There we go. He's still moping around. Then a guy shows up and then has him sign an NDA, gives him a bunch of money. And then the big twist at the end is we realize his wife was some kind of hero. And then this is her secret compartment with her costume and everything in it. Kind of a spoiler. And then we find out that he didn't know what she was or what she did. And again, there's some metaphor there for the comic book industry. I won't go into it. I'll write an essay one day, and then we'll learn about what those stories are really about. All right, that was issue 2. All right, issue 3, here we go. This is another amazing cover by Louis LaRosa. All these great tubes, like radio tubes, and these giant, so great. And then, all right, here we go. We open in 1986, and we see the space shuttle going up. And this is one of those things. It was probably the first thing on the news that I saw that I remembered where I was at the time when it happened, which is the Challenger blowing up. And so it's always kind of stuck with me, and I wanted to do something where we sort of integrate ENIAC's master plan into that having happened. So it was an interesting way for me to sort of fold in some real history, not really alternate history, but just another way to sort of piggyback ENIAC onto real events, just like World War II, and not necessarily in a conspiracy theory way, but in a way where what he's actually doing in the story, which is piggybacking on a lot of our technology and humanity's striving for greatness and getting into space. And he's sort of piggybacking on everything we're doing, not necessarily making us do something or causing a lot of these horrible things to happen. But he has a bigger vision. ENIAC's he's playing like 100 moves ahead, you know. Anyway, so something with the O-rings, and then we see that Fletcher's mother was one of the engineers, and then we see her slowly sort of losing her mind and sort of isolating herself, taking Fletcher with her. And so we get some backstory into why Fletcher is how she is and why she is. And again, I love Doug's use of the layouts here. And we can compare it to the script too. I might have described a little of this, I can't remember, but we'll look at it. But I love the idea that she's slowly getting closer. She's walking, and she's changing. Time and space is changing here, but she's walking towards us and then looking up in the sky. Just a great way to use comics to sort of tell a story in shorthand. And again, we go from flashback then to modern day, and we see Fletcher talking to her mom now, older. But again, repeating sort of her still looking up, like she's, in a way, like her psychology of her being sort of stuck, you know, in that mental space. So modern day, they're meeting her mom, and then she holds the other clue to how to get ENIAC. They have this string sort of virus. They need to figure out how to do it. And she gives them a little box. It's going to help them do that. And then we see that she's sort of been tracking ENIAC her whole life. It's sort of ruined her life and made her a little bit crazy. And again, I'm really putting Doug to work on these pages. These 9 panels here and 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13 panels here. And I don't know, hopefully Doug doesn't secretly curse me for doing these, but the pages look great. Like, the storytelling's great. The characterization, the acting, and the characters' faces is just amazing. Again, we'll get the repeated motif of Fletcher as a kid, but now we have more context of what it was like her being with her mother. And then we sort of have callback to the opening scene with them naked in the desert, and we see her mom here also doing the same thing. So to me, I feel like we're planting the seeds of paranoia here. How much is ENIAC actually controlling, and how much is just a coincidence? All right, Falk and Fletcher are going on their mission. Again, they realize that everything can be hacked, so they get to use these pigeons to communicate, because the homing pigeons can't be hacked by ENIAC. they hope, and they go pick out an old plane that ENIAC won't be able to control or crash. And then like, these pigeons, I always try to slip pigeons in there because Warren is such a huge fan of pigeons. And so I always put pigeons in everything as kind of a little joke, a little nod to his obsession. Here we go. Then they call in a crew. They're going to need some more muscle to sort of complete the mission. These guys show up, cool guys with all their equipment, and they're like, well, you got to get rid of that equipment, take it all off. And then this is a scene where when issue 1 came out, people made such a big deal about the nudity in issue 1. I felt kind of bad. And the original version of this page, these guys were in their underwear. And then I was like, well, we have to be equal opportunity nudists here. So Doug redrew it so everybody's naked. And there we go. But it was great. I felt like they needed to be, like there's a reason to do it, and they needed to be that, and there's no reason to shy away from it. There we go. And then they're on the plane. They're going to the hottest place on Earth. I looked this up. Dalal, Ethiopia. Probably the hottest place on Earth. And one of the hottest places. Also, it looks really great. If you look at images of this place in real life, these pools of water and the colors and everything, it just looks amazing. It's really beautiful. But I thought it would be a great place to have like the setting for the finale of the story. And also it made sense to me to have ENIAC be in a place that was inhospitable to human beings, like a place that he could exist and thrive that would be hard for humans to even go to, let alone live. So here we are. We sort of see this sort of robot-looking thing, which is a bit of a fake out, a little bit of violence there. But it's like another manifestation of ENIAC, or what we think he is, and isn't really. And I think this is the first time that ENIAC is directly responsible for human death. And even then, I think I might debate it. But now we see Fletcher's eyes starting to get weird here. Then we see more cuts to her as a kid working with her little speak-and spell. and now we're seeing that there's something more to that, more to her backstory. But those are seeds we planted in issue 1. And this page is actually critical. It'll show up again in issue 4 in a completely different context. So I think we used the same art exactly, but we put different text over the top of it, and it changes the meaning of it in a really interesting way. But when issue 4, when you get to that one, compare it to this page. We get backstory. We see Fletcher, everything she went through, and we start to get the full backstory of why they're not together anymore. Then back to the present, and we can tell that Falk and Fletcher are heading towards a conflict, not just with ENIAC, but with themselves, with each other, and how they're going to interact, or what they're going to do to ENIAC. And then we see their crew that they took slowly start to go crazy. Something bad's going to happen, and now they have. They get to the ENIAC, and now there's a welcome sign to them. So ENIAC knew all along that they were going to be here, and then he knew what they were bringing, and he was basically inviting them to do it, setting up the final conflict, which is, does ENIAC know they have the virus? Does he want the virus? Are they helping or hurting him by putting it in there? Sort of the Princess Bride conundrum with the poison chalices, you know. Is he switching them because he knows you won't drink it, or does he want you to drink it? It's kind of that conundrum. And then title page at the end this time. And then Hero Trade backup story. This was actually the first story that I wrote in the Hero Trade series for David. And this one came about, I was with Warren at where we were in Portland for Comics Pro a couple of years ago. And he's like, he was telling me he had an idea, like he wanted to do sort of a crime superhero thing where there's a dead superhero in a trunk. The guy opens it and there's a dead superhero in the trunk. I was like, oh, I like that idea. Let's come up with something. So I came up with the idea that, not that he's just in the trunk, but this guy's he's basically going to sell this superhero. He's cutting pieces off him and selling them because the body is valuable. But why sell the body when you can sell 100 little pieces of it? So it's basically a crime story. We get some sort of great looking Dick Tracy characters with scars and canes and speech impediments and eye patches. Just had a lot of fun with character design on that. And I'm a huge Dick Tracy fan too, so anytime I can get some weird, colorful characters like that into a story, I will. Then we got this great sort of Kirby contraption that scans the blood, makes sure it's legit. So he's selling the blood, he's selling the legs. And again, I don't want to hit you over the head with metaphor, but I think I wrote this, and after I was done, I was like, oh, it's a metaphor for superhero comics. I mean, there's a reason I don't write superhero comics anymore, and the reason for me is personal, and that like the best superhero comics have been written. You know, I love them, I enjoy them. I don't know what I can add to that. But I think to keep comic books as a medium alive, we need to sort of move past superheroes. Like comic books isn't a genre, superheroes is a genre. Comic books is anything. So in a way, I feel like this is unconsciously a metaphor for what we're doing with comics in the comic industry. Is we're just cutting little pieces off of this thing and trying to profit off of it, and then we're just losing it, you know. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep, but then the little twist here is that superhero is still alive. He's cutting pieces off, but that guy is not quite dead. Horrible! What a horrible, dark story. Anyway, another great back spot illustration, which I love these. That's it. That's ENIAC issue 3. Issue 4, I haven't gotten my comps yet, so as soon as I get issue 4, we'll do a commentary on that. Thanks for watching, and if you have any requests for commentary, let me know. It can be my book, it can be any book that I've read. I think I'm going to start doing a series of commentaries on things I've written, and then talk about some books that I've read recently. Thanks again, appreciate it. Talk to you later.